What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone's doing well. We are a day away from the start of the 2025-26 NBA season as I'm recording this, but I'm hoping to have this up on Tuesday ahead of the first season openers, so happy tip-off, everybody. In this video, I'm going to give my predictions for every major individual award in the NBA this season, as well as a few of my own categories, just to have as well-rounded of predictions as possible for this upcoming season. The first award I'm going to start with, it's a biggie, and that's Defensive Player of the Year. My prediction is that Victor Wembanyama wins his first DPOY award this season. He was the odds-on favorite last season until he got injured and only ended up playing 46 games. Unfortunately, this is going to continue to be a risk to take him out of award conversations because I think Wemby is going to be the favorite for this award basically every season from now until when the Spurs get a roster that's much better with other great defensive players to the point where you can't really reward any one individual. But until then, injuries and overall availability is going to be the biggest obstacle against him stacking up a few of these awards. If Wemby does become ineligible, I think reigning DPOY Evan Mobley is a pretty reliable pick. He's the next best defensive player in the league, and the Cavs should be a top 10 defense again. The Houston Rockets are also going to have a top 5 offense again, so Amen Thompson will probably finish pretty high up on the list, as well as the Mavs, so if Anthony Davis is healthy, I'd expect him to be one of the runner-ups. Maybe even Cooper Flagg will get a top 10 nod. Next up, I'm going to give out my Clutch Player of the Year award. This is a newer award, having debuted in the 22-23 season, but unlike other newer awards, I feel like this one could actually hold weight in a few more years. Clutchness is something so intrinsic to basketball conversations that maybe being the Clutch Player of the Year will grow to have some aura. And so far, the award has gone to some of the best guards in the league: De'Aaron Fox, Steph Curry, Jalen Brunson. Great players winning awards is what gives the award weight, not the other way around. That being said, it's kind of impossible to predict who this will go to. Some dynamic offensive player who will likely stack a lot of memorable moments with the ball in their hands at the end of games. I think the past two winners, Jalen Brunson and Steph Curry, are pretty good candidates to win it again in their own right, but I could see Anthony Edwards having a lot of those signature moments this season and leading the conversation around this award, whatever conversation that is. The next award I'll be giving out is Coach of the Year. Last season, Kenny Atkinson won the award after the Cavs went out and won 64 games. Coach of the Year seems to just go to the coach of the team that most exceeds expectations that season, and no one saw the Cavs starting last year on the type of streak they did or winning 64 games by the end of it. Mark Dagnall won the award the year before after the Thunder went from a play-in team to the number 1 seed. It was Mike Brown before that when the Kings were randomly the 3 seed. Monty Williams when the Suns won a franchise record 64 games. Tom Thibodeau after Julius Randle had a breakout season and the Knicks became a playoff team again. And so on and so forth. I'm sure you see the point. With all that said, who will lead the team that most overperforms this season? I think it's Quinn Snyder of the Atlanta Hawks, and he has a great shot at winning this award. The Hawks are going to go from a play-in team to a top 4, maybe even top 3 seed in all likelihood this season, and that's the exact kind of uptick that seems to be rewarded. I do think Quinn Snyder is a pretty good coach. I think he gets a lot of buy-in from his players and can squeeze them for effort. I also think David Adelman, the new head coach of the Denver Nuggets, has a fair chance. The Nuggets are going to be a top seed in a brutal Western Conference, and as his first season as a head coach, they might reward him for that. Similarly, Ime Udoka has a good shot to win the award if the Rockets win a bunch of games. I like that top 3, but the Hawks are going to have the biggest turnaround from last season to this one, so I'm going to give the award to Snyder. Next up is Most Improved Player of the Year. This award is good in theory, but in practice over the recent years has gone to high draft picks who just take the leap that everyone already thought they were going to in their 3rd or 4th season, which I find to be fundamentally flawed as a way of judging this award. Most improved players should be for players that legitimately add a facet to their game that help them either ace their role on their team or take a big leap. I do think Dyson Daniel was a good choice last year. I don't know how much he actually improved and how much of it was just escaping the New Orleans Pelicans, but he did average almost 10 more points on better efficiency with more assists. He definitely took a leap that people weren't expecting. If I had to guess which player who's already of note, that's another aspect of this award for the most part recently, I think Amen Thompson is primed for that leap into fringe star level. The recent GM survey ranked Amen as the runaway favorite to have a breakout season with 30% of the votes. Brandon Miller came in second with 10% of the votes, and he had a great rookie season and increased his volume and production last year, but I don't know how much better he actually got, so I'm suspending some of my expectations for him until further notice. I also, funny enough, like Amen's teammate Reed Shepherd for this award. He's going to take on a much bigger role this season after not playing much last season, and if he's able to help run Houston's offense and they go out and win a bunch of games, that could be even more worthy for most improved player than Amen. We'll just have to see though. Alrighty, next up is Sixth Man of the Year. When I look at eligible candidates for this award, I'm looking for the first guy off the bench that really provides an offensive pop. Past winners have been Peyton Pritchard, Naz Reid, Malcolm Brogdon, Tyler Hero, Jordan Clarkson, Montrezl Harrell, and Lou Williams back-to-back. I think it's safe to say none of those guys made a living off their defense. So teams that are deep and have that quote-unquote sixth starter make me think of the Cavs and Knicks first. Deuce McBride has had some really huge moments since being signed by the Knicks full-time and was up to playing 25 minutes a game last season. And if health isn't an issue, I think Lonzo Ball could have a really good shot at this award. In one of the Cavs' preseason games, he dominated with perfect passes, timely shots, connective playmaking. Lonzo's game is just super conducive to winning basketball, and if the Cavs are the number 1 or 2 seed and he's able to play a lot and get upwards of 22 plus minutes a night, I think it could be in the cards. And what an awesome story that would be. The comeback from career-ending injury to productive contributor for a championship-level team on some Bill Walton shit. Cason Wallace of the Thunder is another shout I like, but he started well over half his games last season, so I don't think he'll qualify on that front. Okay, for my second to last individual award, it's Rookie of the Year. I don't think I need to spend too much time on this. Barring injury, it's so clearly Cooper Flagg. There's just not another rookie in the 2025 class that will be as good immediately or showcase flashes of an upside like he will. Dallas is also a pretty big market, and they're going to be a playoff team, so there's plenty of spotlight for him. And I just think he's going to dwarf anybody else in this conversation. The one other name that does stand a chance to really make some noise is Dylan Harper. That kid looks like a stud, and I also think he's going to be fairly good out the gate. Combine that with Wemby as his teammate, the Spurs are hoping to take that leap into play-in/bottom tier playoff team, so there's definitely a spotlight for him as well. And wouldn't it be cool if the Spurs had 3 Rookie of the Years in a row? Other than that, I really like a lot of the lottery guys that I imagine will have a decent-sized role in their first year. VJ Edgecombe, Ace Bailey, Con Knuppel, Kaman Malawak, Cedric Howard, but none of these guys are, 1, on teams as good as the Spurs or Mavs, and 2, Harper and Flagg are just still better. So Cooper Flagg is my pick for Rookie of the Year. And finally, the biggest biggie, most valuable player. I feel like I can predict with almost guaranteed certainty who the names will be on the short list of candidates by the end of the season, but I've had a really hard time coming to a conclusion on who I think will actually win it. To clue you in on my thought process a bit, the MVP award is heavily influenced by the overarching narratives of the season, and I think the idea of Luka Doncic getting into the best shape of his life and going on a revenge tour is going to be very tantalizing for a lot of people, including myself. And if that does happen, Luka averages 30 plus, he's not noticeably a detriment on defense, and the Lakers are like a top 4 seed, I think it could be a near lock. But I also think over in the East, we're going to see a generational carry job from Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks roster is garbage, and with Kevin Porter Jr. as the team's starting point guard, Giannis is going to have the ball in his hands a lot, even more so than last season. There's a very real possibility he averages 30 plus points, 11 rebounds, and like 8 assists, maybe even more. I do find it hard to imagine the Bucks win a lot of games though, and he'll definitely get hit with that Eastern Conference tax. Not that I think how many games your team won should have a whole lot of influence on who wins the regular season MVP award, but it does. There's no denying that, so the Bucks season would just have to go a lot better than I think it's going to. Shea and Jokic are obviously going to make their cases. I don't really think Shea is going to be that much better than he was last season, and I also think it would take something truly incredible for him to move the voters enough to give him the award again. And as for Jokic, he's got the best team he's ever had, so his gaudy numbers will probably go down slightly and he'll rest even more throughout the season. It would also take a lot for the voters to give him his 4th MVP. I wish there were a few more names that I could throw into the mix just for the sake of interest. Anthony Edwards, Wemby, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, but I don't really think any of those guys have an actual chance. With that said, I'm going to choose to look optimistically at how these individual seasons will go and say Luka Doncic is going to win the 2026 NBA MVP. He seems destined to win it at some point in his career, and after not winning it in 2024, something a lot of people believed he should have, there's almost a sense of maybe it just being his time, which I know is a lame way to give out an award, but that's just how these things work, so I'm trying to think realistically. People also do love a comeback story, and after being portrayed by his team the way he was, something I'm still genuinely not over, by the way, if he puts together the counting stats we all know he's capable of, and the Lakers are just good enough, it might finally be his time. Okay, that's all the major awards done. I'm going to save my championship prediction for the end, make that the piece de resistance of this video, but before that, I'm going to quickly run through a few other predictions of mine. I think the team with the best overall record this season will be the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know this is a really bold prediction, guys, and I appreciate you applauding my boldness. I don't think they're going to swing for 68 wins like they did last year, but who knows? If Chet plays 70 plus games, I could see it. But I'm more confident in them landing somewhere in the 62 to 66 win range. They're deep as hell, they're still young, they're still going to get after it during the regular season, and they're still going to beat the shit out of Eastern Conference teams. The difference in their win total is really just me thinking teams are going to be more adjusted to them now that they've gone deep in the playoffs and are the champs. Obviously, they're the ones wearing the Victory Royale crown on their heads this season, so teams are going to want to get one over on them each and every night. Now, it won't matter for the vast majority of teams because they just aren't good enough to beat OKC most nights, but for the particularly savvy teams, the ones who are high in contention as well, I think they'll be able to get the jump on the Thunder a few more times than they did last season. And lastly, as for who will win the title, I think the 2026 NBA Finals are going to see the Knicks defeat the Cavs to come out of the Eastern Conference and play either the Thunder or Nuggets in the finals. On paper, OKC is the better, deeper team, and their margin of error is a lot greater, meaning plainly more things would have to fall Denver's way for them to make it out of the West than I believe would have to in OKC's case. That being said, basketball isn't played on paper, and my gut wants to bet on the best basketball player alive right now with the best team he's ever had. I think the Denver Nuggets have the star talent, the quality role players, and the depth they need to get past anybody in the West. It ain't gonna be easy, but they are my pick. So we've got a Nuggets-Knicks finals, and don't worry, my delusion ends at thinking the Knicks are going to make the finals. I would not pick them to defeat the Nuggets, although, you never really know, So that means I have the Denver Nuggets winning the 2026 NBA championship with Nikola Jokic as your finals MVP. And with all that said, that's going to do it for this one. I feel pretty good now that I've touched on just about everything I wanted to talk about prior to the season starting, that being the best teams, who I think is going to win what awards, so I'm feeling pretty ready for the season. Going forward, we'll be talking about the ongoing season and reacting to all that, so I'm really excited. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm curious to know what you think, so let me know. What are your predictions for the major awards this season? Check me out on Twitter and Medium, TikTok too. Anyways, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. See you in the next one.